Greetings from the eccentric man, and today could be what would be classed as a Christmas special. Well, it's not a Christmas special, but it's something new. And if you'd sort of followed us on Twitter or on Facebook, then you'll know that recently I had a game of Congo, and this video is about Congo. So I can't say it's got a very Christmassy, festive feel to it, but it's a new project and something that I've been looking at for some time. A little while ago, I entered Tabletop Generals. If you haven't looked at them, check them out on YouTube. I'll put a link below. They had a competition, and the competition was just to comment and on a video. And fortunately, I won, and my prize was a €40 voucher to spend at Frontline Games Germany. So I went on the website to have a look at what I could see, and I saw that they stocked Congo. So making sure that it was the English version. Couldn't be doing a French one. My French skills are not very good. So I managed to get the Congo rulebook. And what was even better, one of our friends from Black Wolf War Games Club in Hitchin plays the game. So we asked him, that's John and myself, if he could give us a demonstration of the game. And he very kindly said yes, and we went along one night to have a game. And let's have a little look at Congo. So Peter Day from Black Wolf set up the table. That's Pete on the right, and he had all the terrain. He makes these terrain and sells it, so it was a nice table set up, and he supplied all the figures. So we were in for a good evening. A little bit about Congo. Well, it's by Studio Tomahawk, who do Saga and Muskets and Tomahawk. Some really good games that they produce. Congo is a game based on exploration of Africa, and you have columns of troops around about up to sort of 80 to 90 points. Different scenarios, looking at different things in the jungles, carrying things off, capturing wild animals, and the like. This game we were going to be playing, one was capture the hostage or save the hostage and get them off the board. For the explorers, that was to burn the huts as well, and for the African tribes was to knock out as many units as you could of the explorers. So that was the game preset, and let's have a look at some of the bits to the game. What do you need to play it, and how does it work? So first up is a little look at army selection. So let's have a look at my army that I had for the evening, or I should say column. Each army is around about 80 to 90 points, and it works out like 2 characters and 4 to 5 units, and they vary within the troop type. And you've got muskets, you've got rifles, you've got assegais, so a variety of the different weapon types that you would find. And you've got tribes, you've got explorers, hunters, military, so a huge selection of troop types that you can choose, and a number of columns that you can play with. So this was my one, the African kingdoms, and lots of warriors. And then John had the explorers. The rulebook is around about £34 to £36 in the UK, and with that you get a very nice hardback book with lovely photographs in the side and good text, easy to read for the rules. It is a very nice book indeed. It's a card-driven game, and with that you get tokens for the different actions you can take, and also movement sticks. So here you can see some of the tokens. The red hand is one that you put down. They have stress in the game, which is like the morale of units, and they can stop you doing things that you want to do. The tokens above are the stress tokens, and you would pull one at random out of a hat, and dependent upon the symbol on them, and I'll go through the symbols in a little while, that stops your unit taking that particular action. So yeah, stress is a problem, but you can, in the game mechanism, take the stress off of your unit. But you can only do one action per phase, and we'll talk about actions a little later. There's a foot there, and that's for moving and charging. You've got combat for the sword. You've got a bow for the shooting and firing, and you've got a token there which is the sort of stress that you can put on other units, the jungle drums, fear. You've got measurement, is fairly straightforward. You've got the small one for normal movement. You can double that up for stepping out. Medium range is spears, and then L is for your rifles. So yeah, fairly straightforward, moving the figures with them. The key thing of the game is the card activation system. The turn is divided up into 3 phases, and for the phase you can play 1 card, and that could be a different type of action. Let's have a look at the cards that we've got here. The card shows you what type of action you can take. So the first one is you can put terror tests on units, and that number there is 3. So you could put 3 terror tests on a terror test on 3 different units. The next one is a 1 unit to fire and 1 unit to move or charge. The next one is 4 moves, but the red foot means you couldn't charge. The next one is 3 units being able to shoot. You can see that there's a white number across the top. That's the initiative. The higher the number, that card goes first. So what you do is you select 3 cards for the phase, and you look at the initiative and you turn one over. You select one, and the other person turns one over, and you then see who has the highest initiative. There is a little twist to it though. In each turn and phase, someone has the initiative. That only comes into play if the action cards are turned over and there's a tie. Otherwise, initiative goes with the score of the card at the top. However, if there's a tie, the person who has the initiative can decide to go first or second. If they decide to go first, they then hand the initiative to their opponent. So you've got to think, in your turn, do I want the initiative now, or do I want the initiative in the next phase? So the phases, there's 3 phases, and each turn you can play, in each phase you can turn 3 cards. So it is quite tactical, much like Saga, where you've got to try and think what to do with your resources. You're trying to do that each phase in the turn. So it's a really nice little mechanism. Added to that is that you get 1 card, and this one, should have said in the previous cards, you can choose the 3 that you use during that turn and choose 1 for each of the phase. So you can choose what you want. This one gets dealt randomly, and this boosts one of your actions with the card. You can see there, you can do 1 more stress, or take a stress off yourself, or you could take 1 extra action for something, or that other one you could move 2 other units. So you've got to think carefully about what cards you've got, what cards your opponent could play, and what your objective is for that phase and also for that turn. So there is a bit of thinking to do with it. One of the bits of the phases that we would sort of call friction is that you can only do 1 action per phase with a unit. So you could either move it or you could shoot with it, but you can't move and shoot. So it does make it a little bit tricky. So you really have to think, and I think that's what John and myself liked about this game, is that you were trying to outthink your opponent. So on to the game, and I was the defender, which meant that I got to place down on the table 2 units close into the village. And in one of the huts was the hostage, and for me, I've got to stop John's column taking the hostage and trying to stop John burning down the huts. The difficulty with that is that my other units come on randomly, and I have to dice for them each turn, or like, no, each phase in the first turn. So the first time it was a D6, the second time it was a D8, and the third time it was a D10. And in the second turn they come on automatically, but they come on at random edges. So that was going to be tricky. John could set up half of his troops on the far side of the table, and he could set up half of his troops on the table that was my edge, sort of. So yeah, that was going to pincer me. So the first turn I had my 2 troops into the centre and let the game commence. Well, what was I going to do? The only thing that I could do was to try and get the hostage, and get the hostage off the table, and that's what I did. Well, I managed to get her, because I had to check which hut she was in. Unfortunately, I was able to get the right hut, and I started off on my journey to the board edge. And I thought, well, yeah, could have a good chance, because you've got to remember, I can choose the cards to use in the phase. So that was my plan. Grab her, run off the board, and then see if I can get some of John's units killed. However, there are the 2 units that John was able to bring on from my sort of edge, which was closest to one for getting the hostage off. So that was a little fly in the ointment, but I did manage to have one of my units, as you can see there, the one with the red loincloths, come on to try and intercept John's ones in the blue. That was the theory, to try and do some spoiling of his troops. So a little bit wider here, and there's my unit trying to make a break for it. John was able to bring on a unit of Askaris with rifles, not rifles, with sort of muskets, and they moved up quite quickly towards me. So that was a little bit of a worry, but I still had the princess. But how long was that going to be for? Well, not too long, it turned out, because John was able to start to put pressure on with the 2 units he had on this board edge. And as you can see there, my warriors were trying to break through with the princess into that gap. John advanced his warriors through the difficult terrain. Now, difficult terrain in this, if you move through it, there is a possibility that there will be a wild beast appear. And we were hoping that one would, but the token that would have done that didn't come out. In the next turn, John managed to charge my warriors, and despite me having sort of a warrior chief in there, his force was able to push me back, kill a warrior, and take the hostage. Now this was not good news, because John was now closer to the board edge than I was, which was a bit worrying. However, I was able to bring another unit on. I think it was probably a lucky dice roll to bring another unit on to get in the way of this. In the meantime, what you can see in this picture is that you can see to the top left the British redcoats, who are actually now in the village looting it and trying to set fire to the huts. The Askari were trying to keep out of harm's way, but I was peppering them with some javelins. Over in this side, it was a bit cat and mouse trying to get John's unit with the hostage again. She was going to be a bit of a trouble to get off the board. So you can see here some of the cards on the table. I had played the 2 movement, and also the card which gave me a extra action. Trying to think what I could do. How could I get the princess back? How could I knock out units? And how could I get the person off the table? So lots to think about. Lots to choose with the cards that you were picking up for the next turn, the next phase. As I said, a nice mechanism. So, on to the next bit, and yes, I did manage to get hold of her. However, that was after doing some tricky manoeuvring with the warriors on the bottom of the base here. I was trying to get them around the terrain, because some of it is impassable terrain and impenetrable. That's much the same word, isn't it? Yeah, so we're trying to get them round to be able to intercept, and whether I could get the princess. And I did, in fact, get hold of her, as I said. So here, another shot of the battle going on, and you can see there that I've got a unit coming in from the top left, a unit coming in from the top right, one coming in from the side on the left. John's Ascari's in the centre with his redcoats, and at the far clump of trees was John's scout unit. Here's where my dastardly plan came to fruition, and the ambush came off, and I was able to take the princess hostage. Not princess, I don't know why I'm saying princess, that's probably another one of the scenarios, but I've got the hostage from John, and my aim was to try and get her off the board. However, John was rather clever. He is quite clever at some of these games, the strategies, and I mentioned about terror, and what you can do is you can make units undergo terror tests, and they have a morale value, and if you fail that, you get stress tokens, and if you get 4 stress tokens, you can't do anything. And you may see there that there's a unit behind which has 4 stress tokens, and it is tricky to get rid of them, because you have to have the card to take that action. However, I did manage to get hold of her, but John was really good with how he was choosing his cards and the initiative section, which meant, unfortunately, by the time it came to turn 6, although I had the hostage and I was close to the board, I couldn't get her off the board. As you can see there, those 2 red hands, they stopped my units doing anything. So yeah, well played to John there. We did add up the points, and in the end I won 6 points to 3, because I'd killed 2 units and John had only managed to set fire to 1 hut, and he hadn't got any of the loot off the table. So yeah, a very, very close game. Great fun we had. It really was fun. Trying to decide which card you were going to play, trying to bluff the other player with the cards that you had, trying to work out the strategy. Yeah, really enjoyed it. So what are we going to do then? Well, we have got our orders in for some columns. I'm going for the Ngoni tribe. You can see these on North Star Miniatures. They do a range of Darkest Africa and the Congo troops. The figures will be by Copplestone's Castings, so I'm looking forward to getting those. So yeah, we will be looking at Congo for the new year. So that will be something good. Get a couple of battle reports, I would hazard a guess. Next year, I probably will do a hobby roundup and what's in store for next year. I think we'll see if we can get that out for Christmas as well. So that might be a Christmas video. We'll see what we can do. Quite busy at the moment because we've got quite a lot of charity work for the Greyhound Rescue that I don't work for, but volunteer for. So we're out and about doing street collections. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. We certainly did, and I would recommend Congo. It is a good bit of fun, and we look forward to having some games in the new year. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, hit that notification bell for whenever I get a new video or a new something else new comes up on YouTube for you. So other than that, yeah, I'll do an update video of where we are and what we've got planned for next year. So thanks very much for watching, and speak to you in the next one.